in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Happy Friday. We made it through the week. I'm your host, Matt McKinley, coming to you out of Yerington, Nevada. And this is the Friggin Farm and Ranch Report for Friday, May 15th, 2026. Been a hell of a week. Cash cattle hit an all-time record. Futures market didn't really believe it. China blinked on beef imports, and the WASDE made wheat the print of the month, and beans kind of a show me the money contract. Trump flew to Beijing. He shook hands. He ate a state dinner and declared fantastic deals. And then he flew home. The soy market said we'll believe it when we see a purchase order. And the Strait of Hormuz is still shut. Diesel's still at $5.64 a gallon nationally. And Iran just seized another freighter yesterday. So, yeah, let's get on into it. Okay, so we'll run the tape first, and I want to do the cattle complex last because it's the best story we've got on the livestock side. So we'll hold tight on that. We'll run grains first. So the bean market told you everything that you needed to know about Beijing all week. On Monday, the WASDE drops. Beans rip up 33 cents almost on bullish new crop stocks. They closed around $12.11 a bushel. Traders were pricing in a grand soy bargain out of the summit. By Thursday, though, July beans were down 36.5 cents, closing at 11.92.5. As Greer told Bloomberg told Bloomberg the ag deal would be worth double-digit billions over 3 years, but gave no firm purchase numbers. The trade wanted tonnage. They got optimism, and that is your soybean tape in one sentence. Friday, beans closed down 7 to 15 cents across the board. July beans were down 31 cents on the week. The national average cash bean price fell 19 cents to 11.09 and a quarter. And the trade wanted tonnage out of Beijing, and it got optimism and a Beijing headline that Beijing is not going to confirm. Wheat was the real print of the week. Kansas City hard red winter wheat ripped 50 cents on the WASDE report Monday and added another 31.5 cents by Friday. The WASDE pegged the new crop U.S. All wheat production. That's a mouthful. That's what she said. U.S. all wheat production at 1.561 billion bushels. That's down 424 million from last year, and below the lowest pre-report trade estimate. The Kansas Wheat Quality Tour backed it up on Thursday. Friday, wheat gave back 22 to 24 cents in Kansas City hard red, and 11 to 22 and a quarter cents in the Chicago soft red wheat. But the structural story didn't change. If you grew winter wheat last fall, your bin got a lot more valuable this week. And if you buy wheat-based hay, book it now before July. Corn was quietly bullish on tight world stocks all week. World corn ending stocks for 2026-2027 came in at 277.5 million metric tons versus the analyst average of 286.7. December corn flirted with the $5 handle all week, and Friday corn closed down 7 to 11.75 cents, with July corn down 15.5 cents on the week, and December down 12.5. Lean hogs caught fire this week. They closed above 105 on Thursday. That was up big from last week's levels. The hog trade is not connected to the same headwinds that cattle are dealing with, so it is worth watching that. All right, let's get into the cattle side of things. And this is where everything kind of gets real interesting. Not kind of, it does. Cash cattle in the South, they printed 260 to 265 live this week, and the northern trade was 265 live and up to 408 to 415 dressed. This is record territory, all-time records. Cash has been the leader all week, and it held. The Fed Cattle Exchange confirmed the 260 number holds. On the futures side, live cattle posted $1.20 to 205 higher today. Excuse me. It's been a long week of baseball. A lot of yelling at them damn kids. No, it's been fun, but my voice is kind of shot. Plus, it's warming up, so got to stay hydrated now. It's very important out there. All right, let's try that again. On the feeders, it's a more interesting story. Futures. So live cattle posted $1.20 to 205 higher on Friday. That's today. June live cattle was up $5 on the week as the cash dragged the board higher into the close. But the feeders is a more interesting story. August feeders were down 277, 100 on the week. The CME feeder cattle index fell 314 to 370.09 on Thursday. Specs cut their net long in live cattle by 11,079 contracts through Tuesday. And the managed money that's been long cattle for months, they have been walking out. They were selling the bullish WASDE report, and the cash market held anyways. So what this means for everybody is the Packers are still having to pay up to keep their chains moving, and that 260 number held all week. So this is still a don't screw it up market and not a get rich market. All right, on the cattle and beef side of things from the Beijing summit. The biggest story of the week and maybe of the last 2 years for the export side of the ledger dropped Thursday out of Beijing. China renewed import licenses for more than 400 U.S. beef plants. Chinese customs showed the update on Friday. These are the same licenses that expired back in March of 2025. That's roughly 65% of previously registered U.S. facilities that lost their export status when Beijing let them lapse. U.S. beef exports to China cratered. They were down 48% in volume and 69% in value compared to 2024. The export market that had been worth $1.7 billion at its peak in 2022 went to basically nothing. So these licenses are typically valid for 5 years, so this is not a one-time deal. This is China reopening the door for about a half a decade. So to be clear on that, though, this is not a check in the mail just yet. Beef doesn't move overnight, and you need FSIS paperwork, you need FIDO docs, and shipping logistics, so it'll take weeks before a steer that lives today ends up on a plate in Guangzhou. It's a nice little pull that AI gave me. I would have just picked stereotypical. I might have said Wuhan, but I got enough flags on my YouTube channel. I don't need that. But I said it anyway. So, flag remains apparently. But the door is open. So, and that structurally matters for the export line on the WASDE balance sheet. It's the same WASDE that just cut U.S. beef production by 243 million pounds. So every pound we can move to China instead of piling it in the domestic channel is a pound that keeps the Choice Select spread tight and retail prices from getting so high that consumers start substituting to pork. So this is real, but it's measured in months, not days. The 5-area weighted average cash for the week ending May 3rd was $255.02. That was up $9 from almost $9 from the prior week. But this week's Southern cash was at $260 to $265, is a significant leg higher than that even. On the sale barn side of things, for the week, the pattern is consistent across every barn that I checked. El Reno, OKC West, 11,009 head on Tuesday. Feeder steers 4 to 14 lower, with the biggest drops on heavyweights. Heifer calves steady to $5 lower, and the barn improved as the sale progressed. Buyers did show up. Lone Star down in El Dorado, the Reputation Strings drew aggressive bids from country buyers and order buyers. Weaned work calves got the kind of money that justifies a 300 to 400 mile haul, and one consignor drove 550 miles from New Mexico to sell. So that says something about that barn. Nevada Livestock Marketing, they're in Fallon, 4-weight steers at $456 a hundredweight, 513-pound steers at $455. That's the 5th and 10th all-time high at the barn. 6 weights averaging 624 pounds at $405 a hundred. At the Sioux Falls Regional in Worthing, South Dakota, we had 357-pound steers at $545 a hundredweight. That's near an all-time high, and 535-pounders at $437.50 is the second highest on record. The slope from 4 weights to 9 weights tells you the whole feeder market story. 545 to 642 on the lightweight end, and stepping down to 323 to 336 on the 9 weights. Buyers are paying up to own cattle that they can put on grass and put cheap pounds on them, but they are not going to pay up at the moment. They're not paying up to own finished replacement risk at 120-day break-evens that don't pencil at the current corn and diesel prices. The Trump beef tariff order, Ranch Country held the line on this one this week. The executive order to suspend tariff rate quotas on beef imports for 200 days got pulled back Monday after Farm Bureau President Zippy Duval said any plan to increase beef imports is, quote, extremely worrisome. Again, I don't know what he sounds like, but with a name like Zippy, I'm going to give him a Lindsey Graham type of accent. And man, my contacts are bugging me. It's a weird deal. I way prefer to work on the computer with glasses because my lenses have the blue light filter thing. But my glasses or my lenses show up at the big blue glare on my camera. So I'm tough enough to look at, so you don't need a glare. But my eyes are dry. It's been a long day. All right, so Zippy Duval said beef imports, the plan to increase beef imports is extremely worrisome and could undermine the fragile recovery ranchers are experiencing. It's giving them the vapors. Farm Action called it a giveaway to JBS, which I agree. One of the 4 packers under the DOJ criminal antitrust investigation. The White House delayed. The order is still expected to come back in some form, especially with the China stuff opening up. I don't imagine Trump, being the business guy that he is, gonna let that just sit on the table there. Let's see. Readjusting my screen here. Okay. We're slide 4. There we are. Okay. All right. Farm Action called it a giveaway to JBS. Yeah, so expect them to run that back. because Trump being a businessman and China getting ready to start importing beef again, that's a recipe for Donald Trump to try to get some money flowing, and he's all about that money, as if we know anything. But here's the contradiction that should not be lost. The administration is running a criminal antitrust probe of JBS, Cargill, Tyson, and National Beef, the four packers that control anywhere from 81 to 85% of the fed cattle processing, depending on which side of that argument you fall on. Either way, it's you could call it a very significant portion of the of the cattle or the beef processing business, fed cattle processing, 81 to 85%. And the same White House is about to sign an executive order that would have let those same packers import cheap foreign beef instead of building up domestic fats. Ranch Country caught it, and Ranch Country pushed back, and then the order got pulled. This is producer politics working the way it's supposed to. Watch it though, and see if it comes back with a tweaked country list or maybe some tweaked quotas. But again, I would expect them to run this back. And also, I got to say, as much as I'm not a fan of imported beef, with the supplies that we have here domestically, they're probably gonna have, and if they're gonna keep importing or exporting to China, which I think they should, then yeah, we're gonna have to have more cattle or at least more beef, and that's probably gonna mean some more imports. But I would expect that the cash market on domestic cattle is probably gonna be strong for research I was looking into said maybe at least third quarter. So let's go to the inputs now. Inputs are ugly. National highway diesels at 563.9 per gallon average for the EIA weekly. It's the third straight week at 564, so it's not a blip. This is kind of the new floor on the diesel market until the Hormuz situation gets figured out. We're sitting at 564 a gallon diesel for the foreseeable future at minimum. The Hormuz premium is locked in and it's not peeling back. So for context, as early as January, that same EIA weekly read was running from anywhere from 346 to 369. We've damn near doubled in 4 months. Farm diesel is up 46% since February. And the local picture, if you're in the Mason Valley, Nevada area, off-road bulk diesel is running roughly $5.10 to $5.35 a gallon. So a round trip to Fallon for a sale barn day is about $128 in fuel before you load a single animal. And a load to Galt in Northern California is $4.50 in diesel before you hit a bridge toll. West Texas crude oil for the June month contract closed Friday up $4.25. That's a 4.2% settling. That's for 4.2%. In the upward trajectory, settling at 105.66 per barrel. That's a 1.5 week high. Brent crude's trading near 111. So the Hormuz premium is not theoretical. It's printing at the CME every single session, and it's also narrowed that like $10 spread between West Texas and the Brent index, which showing you is that is really hitting the domestic oil supply as well. But you guys already knew that by the price you're paying at the pump. Trump turned down Xi's offer to mediate with Tehran this week. And Trump turned down Xi's offer to mediate with Tehran this week, and crude markets heard that loud and clear. This week's input headline was the Fertilizer Institute testimony to the Senate Ag Committee. CEO Corey Rosenbusch sat in front of the Senate Ag Committee Thursday and put the numbers on it. So 34% of globally traded urea runs through the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the global phosphate and 20% of the natural gas that becomes ammonia the feedstock for all nitrogen fertilizer. 1/3 of the world's urea supply runs through the strait, and urea is up 47% since February. And 70% of farmers surveyed by Farm Bureau say they cannot afford all the fertilizer they need for the 2026 growing season. Washington, D.C. is starting to officially connect the war reel to the inputs bill. And when the Senate Ag Committee finally schedules the Farm Bill hearing, watch for emergency fertilizer reserve or strategic phosphate stockpile language to show up as a rider in that. So if you haven't booked nitrogen for the next planting, book it now. The Hormuz premium is not peeling off. And the head of the Fertilizer Institute just told that to the Congress with a straight face. The corn urea ratio hit a 5-year high near 87 to 90 bushels per ton. Buying fertilizer at that ratio is a losing trade on the current crop prices, and corn is high. Some producers are running shorter rates and accepting the yield hit. And you got to figure out which camp you're in before July, because urea is not coming down this season. All right, let's get into the war reel. Trump-Beijing summit, the Trump-Xi Beijing summit wrapped up on Friday. So earlier, probably early this morning, but here we are, almost Saturday. So a visit to Zhongnanhai, that's Xi's personal resident, which is a pretty significant symbolic gesture. And what came out of it, the verdict is big promises and thin results. Trump declared fantastic deals for both. Xi called it historic and a landmark. Neither offered specifics that moved the markets, though. What we did confirm was Boeing aircraft. Trump said that China agreed to purchase 200 Boeing jets, and that's their first acquisition of U.S.-made commercial planes in nearly a decade. Beijing did not officially confirm the number, so we didn't really confirm that, but that's what we're reporting. Up in the air. We'll see what China does. On the ag side, though, U.S. trade relations or trade representative, USTR, Jameson Greer told Bloomberg that the deal would cover double-digit billions in annual U.S. farm purchases over 3 years across multiple commodities. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said soybeans are all taken care of. End quote. No firm tonnage or purchase commitments were announced. China renewed 400 beef plant licenses. So that's 400 plus plants, 5-year validity on Thursday. And this is the only concrete, verifiable agricultural action that came out of the summit this week. So of all the promises and stuff, this is the only thing that we know for sure. And they did that as just an update to their export website. They didn't even make like a real official announcement. The Strait of Hormuz, the White House readout said both leaders agreed that the strait should be open and that no country should impose tolls. China's readout said the only thing that the two leaders discussed, quote, the Middle East situation. Trump told reporters he didn't ask Xi for help pressuring Tehran. Quote, I don't need favors. Meanwhile, a ship near the UAE was seized and towed toward Iran yesterday, and another cargo ship near Oman sank after being attacked. I did not confirm who attacked the ship near Oman, but I would assume it was Iran. What did not get done? There was no tariff framework or a structural trade deal laid out. There was no microchip or NVIDIA agreement, though NVIDIA did hit an all-time high Thursday after the U.S. authorized 10 Chinese firms to purchase H200 semiconductors, which is a separate deal. Taiwan remains a flashpoint. Xi warned Trump that mishandling Taiwan could lead to clashes and even conflicts. Trump said he, quote, made he made, quote, no commitment either way and on arms sales, but confirmed that he discussed it with Xi. That's the first public confirmation of that conversation. Xi declined to use his influence to pressure Tehran on Hormuz, and no progress on fentanyl precursor chemicals or Jimmy Lai's release. I'm not familiar with Jimmy Lai, but that was in the readouts that I read. So here's how I read it. Trump went to Beijing needing the win on trade and on energy prices and consumer inflation and on Iran. He got a handshake and a dinner, got a Boeing headline that Beijing is not confirming as of yet. The ag pledge is vague enough that the soy market sold it in real time. Beans are down 22 cents from Monday's peak. The beef license renewal is the most concrete thing that came out of the whole 2 days, and that happened without a formal announcement, just a Chinese customs website update. So if you had to grade this summit for ranch country specifically, China beef licenses is a solid win. Grain purchase commitments, you got to show me a purchase order before I buy anything on that. Hormuz, nothing changed. Iran seized another ship yesterday, and we're burning through interceptor missiles. And then Trump turned down Xi's offer to mediate with Tehran. I wonder if Trump offered or Xi offered him to meditate on Iran. That seems like something that's vaguely Oriental. That is the Hormuz premium staying in your diesel price and your fertilizer bill for the foreseeable future. And then a little bit more on that, on the OSINT, the open source information, or open source intelligence. CENTCOM has not issued a new operational update as of Friday afternoon. The ISWCTP assessment from earlier this week assessed that Iran views control of the Strait of Hormuz as, quote, essential to restoring deterrence, end quote, and it is unlikely to relinquish it voluntarily. Iran deployed hundreds of speedboats in the strait this week and has continued seizure operations. Former CIA station chief Dan Hoffman said publicly he, quote, doubts seriously that Xi will stop providing intelligence and military equipment to Iran despite the summit optics. The naval blockade remains, and there is no ceasefire agreements. Talks are stalled. I didn't check before I hopped on here to record whether or not CENTCOM released anything new. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. That's a pretty old trick in the business, is to drop all your news that you don't really want people to pay that much attention to on Friday, so that way the news cycle doesn't really pick it up till Monday. But being in this new media world that we live in, myself included, being here on the Friggin Farm and Ranch Report, news cycle is just nonstop. So, but it still kind of works because it gets flooded out a little bit in the weekend, and because the news cycle moves so damn fast, particularly with the advent of social media. Unless it's just a massive story, it often gets lost into the ether because the news cycle's already moved on. Okay, so the Hormuz connection for the ranch country is direct and quantified now. The Fertilizer Institute CEO put a number on it in the Senate testimony this week. 1/3 of the global urea, a fifth of the global phosphate, and a fifth of the global natural gas that makes nitrogen fertilizer runs through that strait. Your urea price is up 47% since February because of that blockade, and diesel's up 46% since February because of that blockade. Every day this drags on is another day the Hormuz premium stays baked into your spreader cost and your fuel bill. The Trump-Xi summit produced no concrete movement on Iran, so plan accordingly on that. I hate to sound pessimistic and whatever, but it does not seem like the doesn't seem like there's going to be any kind of end to that situation anytime soon. All right, let's talk a little bit of fence post politics here. On the macro and policy side, so Farm Bill, we talked about this, still stalled in the Senate. H.R. 7567 passed the House in April. It is parked in the Senate Ag Committee with no hearings scheduled. 2018 Farm Bill extension runs through September 30th. So it's not an immediate crisis, but if the Senate slow walks this past September, we're in extension territory again. So watch for whether the Senate writes its own version rather than taking up the House text. The APHIS brucellosis surveillance zone expansion. The document is Federal Registered 2026-05821. It's now live, and APHIS is proposing to expand the brucellosis surveillance zone in Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho to include additional counties adjacent to the greater Yellowstone area. More testing required on cattle and bison movement out of those counties. The comment period clock is running on that, so if you run cattle in or near the greater Yellowstone boundary, call your state vet's office before you book a truck. On the New World screwworm, the U.S.-Mexico border remains closed to feeder cattle imports. 2 years running without Mexican steers on U.S. soil. USDA Secretary Rollins signaled a potential phased reopening at one port location roughly 800 miles from the nearest confirmed case, but no announcement has come yet. The screwworm continues to edge northward. North Dakota pasture land. NDSU extension dropped the 2026 pasture land survey this week, and the story I covered yesterday, statewide acreage hit 1556 per acre. That's the first time every NDSU region has been over $1,000 per acre. Northwest North Dakota up 27% from 936 to 1186 per acre. And cropland values have flattened, barely up 0.88% statewide. Pasture is appreciating and cropland is not. Buyers are betting on the cow, not on the corn. On the Colorado Wolves, which I covered earlier in the week, their compensation fund is underwater. Colorado's paid more than $1.3 million to ranchers for wolf-related livestock damages, while only $875,000 has been allocated to the program itself. The Colorado legislature passed a budget footnote blocking new state general fund money for wolf reintroduction, pushing the program to gifts, grants, and donations. Colorado Parks and Wildlife is pulling from other budget pools to cover current claims. Meanwhile, the pasture value map of the West is splitting. Wolf depredation zones are seeing downward pressure on land values, while drought and beef demand push values up everywhere else. In the Southeast, the drought, D2 to D4 drought coverage at 81% of the Southwest for the week of May 12th to 18. Cow-calf country from Georgia to Arkansas is bacon. 63% of the U.S. cattle herd is in drought territory. The 6 to 10 day outlook for Nevada is warmer and drier. There's active precipitation forecasts for Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and Louisiana. So if that hits, it'll show up in the wheat tape within a week, and the feeder bids in the Southern Plains a week after that. Okay. So, this is gotta pop my graphic. So mine the graphic. It was a late addition to the show, but so we got some breaking news. We got Plains and Southwest fire blow up starting yesterday through today. So while everybody's been watching the grain board and the Beijing summit this week, the Southern Plains and the Southwest lit up. This is active cattle country news that broke yesterday and still running this through this morning. In the Texas Panhandle in Randall County, the Hung Gate fire was erupted Thursday afternoon, May 14th. That was burning approximately 14,000 acres in Randall County and prompting mandatory evacuations for Canyon, Highway 60 east or west of Canyon, and I-27 south of Canyon. Mandatory evacuations were lifted by 11:30 p.m. Thursday, but after forward spread was stopped. But at least one home was destroyed. Multiple simultaneous fires in Randall County were burning between Hungate Road and FM and Farm Market corridors. 4 separate ignitions reported at the same time across the county Friday morning. A 5th fire, which is the chocolate chip fire, started in Randall County. This is peak grass country. It's feeder cattle country. In the Texas Panhandle, eastern New Mexico, we got the line fire in Quay County, New Mexico. Line fire started east of Logan and burned over 10,000 acres so far across the state line into Oldham and Hartley counties, Texas. Prompted evacuation orders for the town of Nara Vista, New Mexico. NIFC classified it as exhibiting, I don't know what that was. Let me find that. What the hell? I know I had read that earlier. Okay. All right. So, Hungate fires, 14,000 acres. Line fire from Quay County, New Mexico into the Texas Panhandle. Cimarron County, Oklahoma is getting hit again. It's the same corridor as the February Ranger Road fire. NIFC season is running at 194% of the 10-year average. So you take that on top of the nearly 1 million acres, or over 1 million acres of summer grass lost in Nebraska. The Great Basin summer outlook is above normal for fire potential, so plan now and not when shit catches on fire. And also there was a cases of pseudo rabies confirmed in Iowa and Texas commercial swine unit or operations. It's the first time since eradication of the disease in 2024 or 2004. The fertilizer, no, that's not nothing. We already covered that. All right, let's start winding this thing up. On this day in history, where's my? There we go. On this day in history. This is for May 16th. Congress authorized the nickel 5-cent coin to replace the silver half dime. It's not a cattle story, but consider this: the nickel bought a lot more beef in 1866 than it does today, and the half dime was made out of silver back then. Urea, diesel, and a 75-year low cattle herd will do that to a man's purchasing power. Throw that inflation in there as well. So here's your weekly 3 we're going to watch next week. So first one, does the Trump beef tariff executive order come back? It's been delayed and not killed. If it comes back with the same country list, feeders take another hit. If it comes back with a meaningful tweak or stays buried, that 260 100 cash number has another leg to it. So watch the Wall Street Journal. They're the one that broke the story about him backing off of that. Second one, does China actually follow through on beef purchases and the ag commodity commitment? The soy market's going to be the canary in the coal mine there. When the beans stop giving back, buyers will be showing up. Watch the weekly USDA export sales report for any China soy or beef bookings. And the third one, is there any movement on Hormuz? Trump turned down Xi's mediation offer and probably meditation offer too, if there was one. Iran seized another vessel yesterday. And if we get any signs of ceasefire talks resuming or any sign of escalation back towards combat operations, that is your diesel and fertilizer price for the next 90 days or so. All right. Let's see. All right, we covered that. All right. So, some questions you might be asking yourself, or you should be asking, is like, should I book corn now or wait? Book what you need to cover known ration commitments. Don't speculate. The corn urea ratio is flashing red, and December corn is flirting with $5. So if you can price a portion of your input cost in, do it. Is the 260 cash cattle number real, or is the futures market right? The cash is very real today. Packers are paying it because they have to keep chains moving, and there's nothing else to buy. The futures market is saying it won't last at that level into August, and the truth is probably somewhere between sitting between 252 and 260 into the third quarter. Don't sell into panic, but don't get caught carrying unbid cattle past August thinking that 265 is coming. And then what does the China beef license renewal actually mean for your check? It doesn't mean anything immediately, but this is the first time in over a year that the U.S. has legal access to China's market for facilities that lost their registration. Give it 60 to 90 days for the trade flow to restart. The structural effect is to keep a portion of domestic supply moving to export instead of building up in the U.S. channel. So that supports China cutout, which supports the packer willingness to pay cash cattle, which supports your check. It's a floor support story and not a windfall story by any means. So that's your weekly wrap. Cash cattle lad all week. Futures are skeptical, but they're starting to follow along. China opened the beef door, and Beijing gave us some optimism. The Beijing summit. Not Beijing itself. The Beijing summit gave us some optimism and not much else on the grains. The Hormuz Strait is still shut, and your diesel bill knows it. Wheat is the print of the month, and North Dakota Pasture just told you where your smart money thinks the long-term beef story goes. Get your diesel bought, lock in your nitrogen, and if you got 4-weight calves to sell, you are sitting on gold. That's all I got for this week. Have a good weekend. Watch some baseball. Watch some hockey. Don't get caught up in all the nonsense, and move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Your eyes up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. We'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Just together, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the south, till the job's done